Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laura Smith on Blog Talk Radio. Good evening. It is Wednesday night, July the 13th, and 10 o'clock p.m. here in Calgary, Alberta. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is Up to Us, and it's a 30-minute live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And chat room's open, and I don't have any particular topic to talk about tonight. I thought I would just get into the issues of child abuse, why I do what I do, what drives me to do what I do. This is something that child abuse has affected my life from the day I was born. And, society, we as a whole, right, keep wanting to shove it under the carpet. We just keep wanting to silence those who are speaking out against it. We want to take, information off of the social networking sites because it offends somebody, We want to shut down the survivors so, their voices aren't heard. I had somebody tell me not too long ago who I thought was a friend of mine, say to me, why are you talking so much about child sexual abuse? What's the big deal? I'm like, okay, you know that I'm talking about physical abuse, verbal, emotional, psychological abuse, neglect. I'm talking about it all. I just happen to be talking about child sexual abuse along with an article about all the different types of abuse. This is what society will do. Try to shut everybody down, right? And it's really unfortunate. And you know why? I'm a bit angry tonight, but I'm not going to scream and yell. I'm just going to vent. Abuse, the reason why I'm fighting to stop child abuse is because it hurts children. It hurts. Now, do we all understand what the word hurt is? It hurts children. And we're not talking a spanking on the butt. We are talking abuse. You know what I'm talking? I'm talking kids being burned and beaten and stabbed and kicked around, broken bones, busted heads, broken necks, beaten beyond belief, sexually used, neglected to the point of starvation and every other way, emotional neglect, psychological neglect, the whole ramifications of all the different types of abuse, psychological problems that come with it. And if it wasn't a problem, then why are we having so many problems? It's a problem, and it's a big problem. And I have the balls enough to come on here on Blog Talk Radio and talk about this, And what I really hope to do is go, national airwaves at some point, whether it's Canada or United States, whatever. I really want to keep going with this. But the issues are what they are. Child abuse, it hurts children. Why is this okay with society? Why do we have a bunch of people saying, it's okay, children are resilient, they bounce back? I tell you what, it's taken me 46 years, to get where, to have any type of good feelings about life, you know what I mean? Like, it's taken me over half my life. And yet still, I'm still this person that has had to deal with so many things that I'm still, even though I'm functioning, and I'm healing, I will always have these problems because I know what happened to me as a child. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff just doesn't go away. If I forget who I was as a child and as a teenager and all the issues that I had, then I forget who I am. So it's absolutely horrific that people think it's okay to abuse a child. We have a huge portion of society, I would say probably 80%, that say it's fine. You know why? Because they're not speaking out. They're not reporting it. They're just allowing it, or they're abusing children. And we have a small percentage of people who are willing to stand up and say, no, this is wrong in every way, right? And this needs to stop. And a lot of people that advocate and fight for child rights were not abused as children, but they care about children. And then there's people like me who, grew up in this hellhole, and, I'm fighting for these kids because I know where they've been. I know where they're at. It's absolutely horrific that we have these issues today, that people would still want to shut us down. People would still want to see us go away and crawl under the carpet somewhere. I'm not going away. And I'm not, and there's a whole bunch of us that are not going away. And we're going to continue to work, and we're going to continue making noise about this, whether it makes people uncomfortable or not. I was really uncomfortable being abused. I hope everybody knows that. I really want, that's why I'm so, I just don't sugarcoat it. I just tell it like it is. You have to listen to all my shows at your own discretion, because I am speaking the truth. Truth hurts. The truth is uncomfortable for these children out here who right now, who are being abused sexually, beaten, stabbed, burned, thrown down the stairs, kicked around, dropped on their heads, thrown across the room into dressers, beaten with sticks and brooms and fists and everything else, they're going to end up in the hospital. If they don't, they're just going to be laying on wherever they end up, half dead. And, children being sexually used in every way, exploited, This is wrong, and we have an obligation to these children to stand up and say this is wrong. If we don't, we are a sick and twisted society. And if people don't get angry about this, there's something wrong. If I tell somebody that I was abused as a child, it should make them angry. That should be the first automatic response, because it's a crime. It's against the law, and it's a crime. It's because my parents got away with it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. You know what I mean? And children are being abused all over the place, and no one's doing a damn thing about it. And it's so sick and twisted. There'll be people within the family unit that could get that child some help, but they don't. Whatever the family unit is, there will be somebody that will know the abuse is going on, and they will allow it to go on, and they won't say a word. They won't get that child any help, and or those children. And this is absolutely wrong. It's morally wrong. It's wrong in every way, right? And just for myself, I have my shows here, One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, and I talk a whole lot about the damage done, from being abused as a child. And the reason I'm doing it is because it's my healing journey. And so I'm working through all of the different parts of myself that I needed to go back and address so that I could get over these behavioral issues and these problems, and not just get over it, but learn how to cope so that I don't kill myself, right? Or that I don't injure myself, or I don't fall into some sort of depression, and so that I can continue to try to function as a normally functioning human being. And I'm actually really high functioning. That's great. But I was also suicidal 4 years ago. Suicidal tendencies. So, this is incredibly wrong. It's wrong. There's a whole portion of society that says, "Oh, child abuse doesn't affect children." You bet it does. Like the whole idea of a child growing up in this environment that is so hostile and so negative, even if there's no physical abuse, there could be a lot of hostile emotional abuse, hostile verbal abuse, hostile, violent behaviors. It may not even be physically abusing the child, but the child is going to take that on. They can't help it because it's the environment they're growing up in. So they're just definitely going to have problems, lots of problems. They possibly go on and abuse their own children or somebody else's. Even as children do abuse children. I hope everybody knows this. And so, it's wrong. How can a society sit there and say, "Oh, it's no big deal, children are resilient, they'll bounce back"? That is such a crock of shit, if there ever was. Excuse my language, but I'm starting to get to the point where I really don't care. I'm really sick and tired of these people minimizing abuse. I really am. I'm really tired of it. You know why? Because no child deserves to. You see a child, they fall down and skin their knee when they're riding a bike or something, and it hurts. You know what I mean? And they cry and they're like, "Oh," and of course, if you're a loving parent or a loving person, you'd be like, "Oh, here, we'll fix that," and put a Band-Aid on it and give them a little kiss and tell them, "Oh, it'll be okay," and you'd want to help that child. You'd feel bad because they hurt themselves, and of course it hurts. We all know what it's like to hurt ourselves as adults, right? You slam your finger in a door, of course it hurts. If you get in a car accident, it hurts, right? You break your leg skiing, that hurts, right? But when it's your own parents or some caregiver or somebody who's gotten a hold of you doing these things to you, breaking your legs, burning you, throwing you down, beating on you, kicking you around, and on top of that, calling you names, I'm talking horrific, and no child should ever, ever, ever have to go through that. Like, no child should ever, ever have to go through that. That is so incredibly wrong, And as far as people sexually using children, that's just got to stop. That's just got to stop. There's no excuse for that. And it's been going on since Roman times. I mean, it's been going on since time began, actually. They've got just documented cases. They've got it all down. They know. from the time that time began and people started writing things down, that people have been using children sexually forever. Why? It's 2011. Hello, let's wake up and smell the coffee. I disagree with it. I really do. You know why? Because a child's body is not meant for that. You grow up and you become an adult and you become a young person, a young adult, and you're old enough to make those choices for yourself, and you want to begin to explore your own sexuality. Well, that's great. With your own peers, wonderful. Go for it. Be careful. Have some protection and learn how to keep yourself safe. But the thing is children and babies are not sex toys, and they do not want to be used sexually by a woman or a man. Because women do sexually abuse. I hope everybody realizes that. Like my sexual abuse was all perpetrated by men, but that doesn't mean that women don't perpetrate sexual abuse. There are lots of child sexual predators that are women, and there are a lot of teachers that are doing this. So if you have children in school, be very much aware of that. And lots of them like the gym courses, so they can have access to the girls in the locker rooms. You bet they do, and they want to be able to invite them out to the things after the soccer practice, right? Lots and lots of that going on. Pay attention. Watch the headlines, right? So the issues is that it's so incredibly wrong for an adult to think that a child would want their body parts in them or on them. I'm talking serious here tonight, because I was raped and sodomized as a child, and I tell you what, I finally found the courage to come out and say it like it is, instead of saying I was molested as a child or sexually abused as a child. If you say sexually abused, it sounds very much like a little pretty package, doesn't it? Well, I was sexually abused. It's a nice little pretty package. Well, I was raped. I was fucked. I'm going to say it, and I don't care. Other people are saying that word all over the place, and it's fine. So I'm going to use it in this context. So, you do not do that to a child. You do not sodomize a child. You don't sexually abuse a child in any way. Oral sex, I don't care what it is. You do not do that. That is wrong. And why, as a society, do we think this is okay? It's no problem. Didn't happen to me. Oh, well, good for you. But I got news for you. It screwed me right up. And people say, really? Did it? It's had a profound effect on my life. I deserved every chance to grow up being okay with my body. I deserved every chance growing up to give my virginity away when I decided to. When it was my choice to give my virginity away. That should have been my option. Should have been my choice. But it was stolen from me at the age of 8 by my fucking twisted brother. And so, why? I don't understand how people can sit there and justify that and say, oh, well, you're okay now. I am fucked. Okay, I may be doing great because I'm not hurting myself and I'm not hurting somebody else. But guess what? Those memories will be with me forever. Like people have said, I don't know how you've come out this doing so well. You're just doing so wonderful. You don't seem to have any problems at all. I can't go to the bathroom without thinking about this. I can't go to the bathroom without thinking about that sexual abuse. I can't think of a time in my life, in my childhood, especially in my teen years, of all the beatings that I'd taken from my mother, especially, and the horrific scenes, and just the rejection and the hatred and the discord, Like I can picture good things. I had some interesting, cool stuff happen to me too. You know what I mean? But the issue is that is always there, and it doesn't go away. And the reason it doesn't go away is because it was reality, is what happened to me. Can't change that. So why are people sitting there thinking it's okay to abuse a child? It is absolutely not okay. And sometimes parents make a mistake, and they might discipline a little harshly, and then they feel bad. They'd be like, I'm so sorry, my God, I kind of went a little bit overboard, we got to handle this a little differently because I don't want to hurt you, and I love you, you're my child, right? That's what it should be, because sometimes people do lash out and they make mistakes. But not when it's systematic, and it is done to destroy that child, which is what my mother was trying to do, right? I mean, there was 2 stillborn babies in between me and my sister, and I'm pretty sure that they weren't just stillborn because they were stillborn. But we were all born out of rape. So there you go. very sick and twisted. So the issues are: is why was I made to suffer? That's my question. And why as a society are we thinking that it's okay that these children just go ahead and slip through the cracks? Oh yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? No, it's not fine. And not one of these kids out here, these little babies, these little newborns, little babies, little toddlers and children, school-age children and teenagers deserves to be treated like shit. And they deserve so much better. And yet there's a whole portion of society that likes to just keep that blind eye closed. Oh yeah, we don't see it, we don't know about it. And then the minute they see a child abuse headline, they're crying the blues. Oh, it's disgusting, it's disturbing, it's bothering me. Well, my brother's dick in my ass really disturbed me. I will tell you that. And that is the reality. And I'm just shocking people tonight because that's the reality. That's what I went through. That's what kids are going through out here right now. For these people out here, these child sexual predators and pedophiles out here who are sexually abusing children, this is really wrong. It is so incredibly wrong. And it's, if we don't stand up and get angry about it and say, what are we going to do to fix this? We've got to fix this. The system doesn't work. The system still doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It's never worked, but it was a great try. And I give everybody credit for even bothering to stand up to try to help children. Thank God. You know what I mean? So I'm not running down the system. I'm just saying it doesn't work, and they know it, right? So how are we going to fix it? Well, parents obviously need resources. People who are slipping through the cracks, they need a whole lot more resources, but they also need a whole lot more training. There needs to be more people. Instead of the government's cutting back on social workers, that's stupid. You know what I mean? We need twice as many because we need people to be able to go and actually spend time with these families and make sure that these people are definitely looking after their children. You know what I mean? And doing the right things by their children and not bashing their heads in with skillets or burning them or, killing them or, drowning them in the tub and then taking them out and burying them somewhere or beating on them, sexually using them for whatever, whenever they feel like it. We've got to do something. And we can't be Big Brother. We can't have a video camera at every home. I really wish we could. See, I was abused as a child, so I think it's a great idea. I'm all for it. But I know nobody would go for that. It's unfortunate. I think it's the best way. But nobody else would really go for that. That's too bad. But for these kids out here, I swear to God, I think that's just the best thing. A video cam, Big Brother watching, parents get out of line, siblings get out of line, anybody gets out of line, and they're busted. You know what I mean? Because those kids need our help. We have people stabbing their children, beating their children, burning their children, killing their children, and not only that, where the real damage is? It's the heart. We have people out here who absolutely do not love their children and absolutely treat them like shit. And we expect these kids are going to excel and they're going to do all right and they're going to be okay. This is so wrong. This is so wrong in every way. When are we going to wake up as a society and say, how are we going to fix this? We really, I'm a big proponent for people, for groups getting together and coming up with answers. Because obviously I don't have them or we would have stopped child abuse a long time ago. You know what I mean? But we need to find them and we need to keep working on it. And the more, I had this comment that said, why are you always talking about, what's the big issue with CSA, incest, right, with child sexual abuse and incest? This comment was made to me. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be freaking kidding me. It's just as serious as child physical abuse, verbal, emotional, psychological abuse, neglect, and child sexual abuse. It's all the same to me. It's all incredibly serious. You know why? Because I survived it all. So I'm talking about it all. You know what I mean? And I know what these kids are going through out here. So this is absolutely ridiculous. It's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because this is incredibly harsh. How hard it's been for me to how hard it was for me as a child, first of all, just to be able to get through the day, and just be able to get through the night in the environment that I was growing up in. And that's what these kids are going through. We have people selling their kids off for drugs. They can be raped for 3 days. There's a headline not too long ago about that little boy, the 3-year-old boy that his parent or his mother and caregiver, grandmother, I don't know who it was, mother and somebody, sold him down to a neighbor for drugs to sexually use. So they sexually used that boy, they figure, for 3 days. He's 3 years old. He's got a torn rectum. Part of his scalp was missing. He was hung from some sort of a sex belt up in the air. This is sick and twisted. And I tell you what, if we don't get angry about that, if we don't get really angry about that, there's something wrong with society. Well, guess what? When I was 8 years old, my brother decided that he would just go ahead and sexually use me too. Oh yeah, get it on. You know what I mean? Did I like that? Was I okay with that? I was wounded. I tell you that, in every way. And what, society's not going to stand up and scream out about that? Well, for my little person, for my little 8-year-old, I'm screaming out about that because it bothers me that people think there's no big deal with this. It's no big deal. It's a huge deal. We have people lobbying the government to try to legalize adult child sex relationships. Now this makes me sick to my stomach, and I really hope to God that the rest of society will get so pissed off they'll lobby the government to shut those people down completely. Because this is wrong. It's all wrong. And it's so unnatural. It is so absolutely unnatural for an adult to have any type of sexual relations with a child. Children are children. Adults are adults, and there's a difference. So why anybody would think that would get their jollies off on using a child sexually is beyond me. But look how many sick people there are out there. What's wrong with their minds? What's wrong with their minds? What's wrong with their depraved minds that they would think that that's okay? Because it's not okay. It never will be okay. It never was okay. And I don't mind speaking out against it, because I know what it did to me. And I split. I split because of it. So that's the whole issue. It took me until about 2 weeks ago to grab a hold of those memories. And I started to remember all this stuff. I was like, oh my God. I knew that it had happened. But it was so incredibly damaging to me that in order for me to cope, for my little brain to grasp what was happening to me and my body to be able to cope, I just had to split. So that I could continue on with my life as an 8-year-old. Still going to school, elementary school. Right? And, I'm telling you, the things it did to my body, I will tell you, extremely bad. And the issues is that, why? Is this my question? Why would somebody do that to a child? Because they're so horny that they can't figure out another way to take care of their horny issues other than to use a child. I think it even goes a little bit deeper than that. I kind of just thought maybe my brother was just horny or something. I think it's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with those people. And people say, well, they need help too, and I know they do. But why at the expense of our children? At the society's children. Why at our expense? Like to me, I'm serious. They really need to do more research on how to help these people. See, back in the old days, I think they would have just put a rod through their head, and they would have just sat in a corner somewhere, mumbling and right. I mean, back in the old days, that was kind of their idea of fixing, mental issues. Just pound a rod through their head, solves everything, doesn't it? Well, it does for their society because then they're no longer a threat, right? But now, okay, I'm fighting for human rights. I'm all against that. I'm totally against that. The issues are, what do we do? Just allow people to continue to abuse children? It's the same with parents that abuse their children and other people that burn and beat and kick around their children. What do we do with these people? A couple of years in jail just doesn't seem to cut it. It's not really justice. It's not justice for these little kids for any of these kids out here that have lost their lives because somebody made the wrong decision and went too far or just wanted to kill them. See, a lot of times that's the case. And, it's not always that the parent just goes too far. Some people think that's what it is, but that's not what it is. Sometimes people want to kill their children, right? And so they do, right? And so they're murderers, right? Cold-blood murderers. But the thing is there's a difference. What do you do with them, right? I mean, why do they have so many rights when they took away the rights of their children, of these children, or somebody else's child? Why are we giving rights to these people? I'm all about treating people with human dignity. I'm not talking about abusing people here, because abuse is wrong to me in every way. So I'm not one of these people, really. I don't condone abuse. So I can't condone abuse of somebody who abuses somebody. See, because it just goes against what I just contradicts what I say. So I don't condone abuse, period. Right? But what do we do with them? You know, like what punishment would be, what would be enough? What kind of punishment would be enough for what they do to these children? What they do to and what they have been doing to children for so long? You know, there is really no justice. Right? There's no real justice. Like, I mean, you know, you take a child's life. I mean, there's no justice. You can't bring that child back, you know. Or you beat and burn and harm a child. You're taking away that child's life, really. They may survive the abuse. I did. But they're going to be so, you know, they're not going to have a good start at life. They may even figure it out earlier than I did. It took me a long time to figure my stuff out. But, you know, hopefully they would figure it out a little sooner than that, get some help. But the thing is many don't, and many die because of it, you know. And what people want me to shut up, you know, just one more group of people, one more set of people saying, "Oh, just shut them down. We don't want to hear about it. We want to continue watching our TV programs and whatever we're doing. We don't care about these abused children. Oh, but we'll support kids' cancer research, sure. Yeah, because everybody loves the kids with cancer, right? But nobody loves the little 8-year-old who was raped and sodomized and laying in her bed bleeding. Nobody loves that kid, right? And nobody loves that 13-year-old that I was laying on the floor in a pool of my own blood, beaten. You know, nobody loves that kid, right? But they love cancer kids. Oh yeah, hey, I do too. But the thing is they're more than willing to pitch out and do whatever they can to help cancer kids. And yet when it comes to abused children, why? And I tell you what, I'm going to do a study on it. And I believe that I understand why. It's because they're ugly. Nobody wants to see them. Abuse is ugly. These children, these children who are so beaten and battered, you know, they're ugly. Nobody wants to see that. Not only that, but it shows the evil and the ugly that's in men's hearts, women's hearts, men's and women's hearts. It shows the ugly that's in these perpetrator hearts, and nobody wants to see that. You know, it hits a little bit too close. It hits a little bit too close to home of what's going on in our own hearts. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people want to shut this stuff out, because we don't want to see the evil that we're capable of. We don't want to see the evil human beings are capable of doing. So when it comes to victims' rights, the victim is always screwed. And when it comes to child abuse, the children are always screwed, because nobody cares about an abused child. Nobody cares. There'll be a handful that care. I know a whole bunch that do. Thank God. And I do. But I'm talking about society. I'm talking about the mainstream society. And even people that advocate to stop child abuse half the time want to shut people down. You know, I don't understand that, but there's some sort of weird, I don't know what it is, but it's just that more of the same old garbage, shutting people down, you know, and it's people who are out here fighting for human rights, you know, and fighting for child rights, human rights. And so, you know, we need to keep talking about this stuff. We need to keep explaining why we need to stop child abuse, you know, because stop child abuse has become so cliche. People don't think about it. We need to really continue to give examples and reasons of why we need to stop this, and that it's not only kids with cancer that need help. You know, it's like we've got to help these people. We've got to help children. And then we have to help these people who have survived it. We have to help the survivors. We have to help the children. We've got to stop this mess, and we have to stop the cycle, right? So, you know, like this is my big rant here tonight. But, you know, we have to do something. We have to care enough to get involved. So, you know, do whatever you can in your own local areas, right? Get involved. Do something. You know, I will be locally hooked up eventually here. I'm more nationally and internationally hooked up than anything. But, yeah, I'd like to get involved locally too. But Canada just doesn't think there's any such thing as child abuse. Right? There's not a whole lot of noise being made up here, right? So, you know, I'm going to continue to speak out. Do whatever you can, you know, within your own capabilities, but you just make sure that the children in your own life are not being abused in any way, you know, physically, verbally, emotionally, psychologically, you know. child sexually abused, neglect, you make sure that the children in your own world are not being abused, that you would be doing the world the biggest favor. If everybody would do that, we could protect children. We could watch out for them. We could protect them, right? And that's why people don't want to do it. They don't want to take on the responsibility. They'd just rather give a couple $100 to kids with cancer. No, these kids out here need our protection. They need our help just as much as the kids with cancer. So remember that, and keep that in your mind, because kids are dying here tonight, and we won't be able to save them. We won't be able to help them. And if they don't die, they're going to end up in the hospital, or they're just laying in their floor somewhere in their bedrooms or in the living room or wherever. This is sick, sad, and twisted, people, and we have to do something about it. So, use your voice and don't ever stop talking about it. This has got to stop. Have a great night, and I'll be back on tomorrow, one child abuse survivor to another in the morning, and then on Friday, again, with this show as well. And Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, don't forget to check that out. We do some great shows over there. Dreamcatchers for Abused Children, dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com, and on Blog Talk Radio, if you just type in Dreamcatchers, that'll bring you to their shows and to our shows, right? So have a great night. Make sure you get the education, learn the signs and symptoms and help protect children, right? Have a great night. Talk to you soon.